Up next is Spencer Janning. He's the CEO and founder of Freedom Brace LLC, and of course, a student at the University of Dayton. How you doing, Spencer?
I'm doing well.
So tell us about the Freedom Brace and what is it used for and how you developed it.
So the Freedom Brace is a hip and knee abductor for those who have cerebral palsy and similar neuromuscular conditions. Basically, people with this condition, what they typically do is they'll cross their legs over each other and continue to wrap those legs to the point where they can severely injure themselves and cause permanent damage to their lower extremities. Now, the Freedom Brace prevents these users from crossing their legs, but at the same time still allows them to move their legs freely up to certain preset conditions. Compared to other devices, they don't allow the user to actually move, so the user typically gets frustrated with their device and doesn't use their device regularly as they're supposed to.
Wow, and how often is this device worn then? Just laying around the house or in formal settings as well? When do you wear it?
So at first, we only were testing it for people wearing it at night or when they were sort of sitting or laying down or at rest. And that's the main
use. Yeah, go ahead, please.
And that's the main use of the device. But recently, we've also looked into potentially using it for gait training functionality, but we have not conducted testing on that yet.
So you mean like walking, that type of gait?
Walking.
Yes. So tell us about the FDA clearance process. That is a monumental task. Did the school help you with that process? Did you do it by yourself? How'd you get it through?
So I filed all the paperwork myself. The University of Dayton provided the funding so that I could receive my FDA approval or registration.
Cool. And evidently you have an engineering background, obviously, as you can see by this brace. Do you like the business aspect? Because you're having to learn as you go along.
So I'm currently a senior in mechanical engineering with a concentration in aerospace engineering. So doing business things isn't exactly what I'm used to doing, but through various programs at the University of Dayton, such as Leonardo Enterprises and the Flyer Pitch Competition, I've actually learned a lot about business functions, which has greatly helped in running this company.
And I imagine you have more ideas. I'm guessing the Freedom Brace is your first one, right, Spencer?
Yeah. I have a couple other ideas, but they're just kind of ideas right now.
Do you have anyone in your family who has cerebral palsy, or how'd you get the idea? Because there are a lot of diseases out there, a lot of different types of disabilities. Why did you focus on CP?
So when I was a freshman here at the University of Dayton, I was in an engineering innovations class where I was actually assigned to create a new hip and knee abductor for a child who had cerebral palsy. And the big problem was that the child wasn't wearing their device at night because it was so uncomfortable because they couldn't move in it. So the whole goal was to create a brace that would prevent the over adduction of the legs, but at the same time be comfortable enough that the user would use their device as they're supposed to.
So how does the manufacturing work and all that? That's a bit complicated as well, because it's not only easy to just design and start a business and a patent, but it's also actually making the device and making sure it gets into the right hands.
So to manufacture the device, so Leonardo Enterprises has provided me with manufacturing space here on campus. And I actually have 4 3D printers that I run almost 24/7 in order to produce all the plastic components in this device.
And what advice do you have for engineering students? We tend not to think of engineers as solving, our problems. We tend to think of them building buildings and building bridges. I guess that solves some problems, but we don't tend to think of them as like medical device creators. What's your advice for them?
I guess my advice would be to keep an open mind and look out for potential opportunities such as this brace, because it started as a class project, and then I continued to work on the device past the class project. So in general, just to keep your eyes open for potential opportunities, and also don't be afraid to make a mistake and mess up, because that's how you learn all these things.
Yeah, so tell me, before I leave you, a success story. So obviously someone's been using this. Have you had, a very moving story about how their lives have been changed?
So the original child who was testing our device, Liana Bryant, way back when I was a freshman here at UD, she's actually been using the device pretty much every night since then, and it's greatly improved her quality of sleep and also her quality of life because she's able to sleep more. And in addition to that, since she's able to sleep better, the mother actually has better sleep too.
Yeah, of course. A lot of people don't realize that it's not just about the person with the disease, it's about their caretakers as well, their families, right? I imagine they warmly thank you for your innovative device, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, Spencer, it's been great having you. All the best to you and everyone over at the University of Dayton. Have a great afternoon.
Oh, thanks. You too.